Let's get some reaction now. We are joined by Siyabonga Hlatshwayo from the South African Red Cross Society in KwaZulu-Natal, Provincial Manager. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Sunday's torrential downpours in Margate evidently wreaked havoc. What have you encountered?
Good evening to you and the viewers at home, and thank you for having us. Maybe first of all, we'd want to extend our condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones, and we also feel for those that have their businesses damaged by the heavy rains that were experienced. Currently, the situation is quite worrying, and as we are seeing that people are still trying to recover, especially the businesses that were affected and some community members that were affected. And one must also appreciate the work that is done by the South African weather services for always sharing messages that are always cascaded to the communities, keeping them aware of possible heavy rainfalls that are coming that could cause some damage in the communities. And it's unfortunate that sometimes due to the heavy incoming of the rain, it always leaves such a damage behind.
We know that for one, emergency services had their hands full on the day. What are residents and community members grappling with as they try and recover from the aftermath of this devastating heavy downpour?
Yes, it's quite devastating, especially the damage to the infrastructure as well as businesses. Those are the ones that were affected mostly. Communities, yes, they were affected, but not so many of them. As we're looking at almost around 205 people that were affected from both Ugu districts as well as some parts of eThekwini. And assessment are still continuing, and also stakeholders as well as disaster management teams are working together to ensure that relief could be provided in time for those that are in need and those that are affected.
What sort of relief do you think is required at a time such as this?
Just as businesses are still ongoing, I think just as assessments are still ongoing, I think the reports will reveal better on the needs that are on the ground, but there are multi-sector approach that will ensure that relief is provided to the communities as per their needs.
Siyabonga, you spoke a little bit about the South African weather services always issuing these alerts, but just judging from the impact we've seen previously, for one in 2022 when over 400 lives were lost. Do you think that with the warnings that come in place, that residents and communities alike are able to prepare better? Are there ways to be better prepared for such rains and the impact of such rains?
Well, the messages, I would say that they do reach to communities. Sometimes the bigger challenge is now as to where to and what to do, of which I think we need to invest more on that in terms of preparedness and also disaster risk reduction projects that would ensure that the impact of these, because these are natural incidents, is actually minimized. Because we cannot really control much when it comes to these natural incidents, but we would try by all means to control that the impact is minimal, especially to people's lives. And so in terms of really, we need to do more in terms of community engagement and also preparedness of the communities. Because really, when you reflect back into April 2022, you'd see that many communities that were affected are communities that are in mostly informal settlements. But also now we are noticing that there is a pattern of also very well-planned and structured settlements are also being affected. So which tells that really one would say even the effect of climate change is also having a severe impact in terms of the weather that we are receiving. So we need to really plan better and prepare better for the future.
Have you had any calls for help from any informal settlements since these heavy downpours on the weekend?
Fortunately, our teams are part of the joint operations that are coordinated by disaster management. So the reports and calls are actually coming to the disaster management centers, and the interventions and relief are coordinated centrally, and then they are issued to those that are affected.
As residents begin counting the costs, cleaning up in the aftermath, what have your teams encountered insofar as some of the losses that some residents or business people have endured and the impact that these floods have had on their lives?
Mostly it's businesses that were affected, as well as infrastructure of which I think the government will take care of. Mostly we're seeing the business that are being affected, and we're wishing that they are the ones that need more support in terms of ensuring that they can recover and be able to operate again from the impact of these recent rains. And also some community members, because actually there was one family that actually their home was totally damaged. I think support for them would be great in terms of maybe supporting with building material, groceries, as well as temporary relief that they might need at this particular time. But I'm sure as time goes on, as assessments are continuing, they will tell of more needs that are on the ground, and relief should be prepared and delivered as per the needs.
And very lastly, have any of your teams had a chance to engage with any of the families who may have lost loved ones in these floods?
Not at the moment, out of respect of the grieving processes and everything, but we are on standby to provide any kind of relief that could be needed, as well as we do have teams that provide psychosocial support, as well as maybe if there could be any relief that we can be able to be in possession of and we can offer to them.
And some of the finer details on who has lost their lives, the ages, do you have access to any of those details at the moment?
Not really, but we did during the reports, during the meetings with the government structures. It's information that is really with the government structures, the finer details.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much for that update. Siyabonga Hlatshwayo, South African Red Cross Society's KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Manager, bringing us some of the latest details around the devastating floods which wreaked havoc, deadly floods in the Margate area in KwaZulu-Natal at the weekend.